Hello, welcome once again to our journey with MySQL Workbench. I hope we've all had the opportunity to review some of the stuff we did last week, trying some of those activities yourself to make sure that you are familiar with the interface so far. So far, we've looked at how to set up a new connection, all right? We've also looked at how we can establish connections. And then once we're inside the connections, or we've made that connection to the server, we looked at how we can create databases and then also create tables, all right? So we're just going to go ahead and enter our classroom instance. Okay, that's what I've named that connection. All right, so if I click this here, all right, just as we said before, since I stored the password for this in the vault, I do not need to I do not need to enter my password again. Okay, of course you can always do this when you create your connection to make sure we don't get that sort of repetition. All right. Now, we looked at how to create the books table, all right, and we said that this is the information panel here that tells us all we need to know about the books table. Now, so far, obviously, we've not added in any data into there. All we have is these columns: book ID, title, author, published date, and then price, all right. Now, again, using the interface, all right, we're going to look at how we can add some data, all right, into those tables. And of course, we're going to start off by doing it the graphical way, okay? So to do that, of course, you want to first, of course, make sure you've selected your the particular database you're working with, which is Bookstore. Then we go to tables here, all right, and then once we click the arrow to the drop down, we can then go to our books table here. Now here we can right click, and then what it says, select rows, limiting it to 1,000 rows. All right, that's what we're going to select. Okay, so once you select that, all right, what we should get here is the data viewer. All right, so over here in our main work area here, we have this data viewer. All right, and essentially it just shows us what we have in our table. Now you can see I've already entered in some values here. Okay, but what we can do is we can remove, all right, we can get rid of those so that we begin from scratch. So over here, you can delete the selected row. Okay, so of course, it's very important that you select the row you want. You delete the selected row. You can do that for the rest. Okay, all right. So we can just, okay, delete. Okay, so now we have it plain again where we can then put in data that we want. Okay. So in order to do that, of course, one thing that we need to note here is that we set the book ID as an auto increment, all right, which means that we do not need to specify the value for that. That means that we can just go ahead and just enter in our title, all right, so we can just say database, all right, let's just say we call that database basics, okay. And who is the author? We can call that Jane Smith, all right. And then for the published date, all right, because we have a specific data type for the date, all right, we start off by writing the year first, okay, 2020, say, let's say 2023 in May 15th, all right, and then we set the price at 29.99, all right. So yes, by doing this, we've entered in the values, and then once we click apply, all right, once we click apply, this is the values, all right, that would be inserted inside the table. Okay, if I hit apply, you can see that we've entered in this value. But obviously, this auto increment here, all right, because we already had existing values that we've just deleted, it is starting off at 5. Okay, all right. Now we can decide to add in another value. All right, we can do that, another value, where we put in SQL, okay, for beginners. Okay, and then we can enter in the author as again John Doe. All right. And then we put in, let's say, the date to, right? And the price, say 24.95. Okay. So once we do this, okay, we've entered in those values. All right. We can just do the same thing again, hit apply, and then it inserts the value in there. And we should see that now the book ID is what? 6. Okay. Right. Now, obviously, this method is very effective, all right, when you are sort of entering values, singular values, rows in this way, all right. But of course, as you, if you're having to enter a large set of data, perhaps it works best if you work from the MySQL query tab, okay. So what we are going to do here is I'm just going to close this. All right. So if I close this now, and I'm just going to go here. You see at the top here, it says create a new SQL tab for executing queries. So when I do that, all right, now I'm just going to make sure, all right, so we're going to start from the beginning again. Make sure that you select the bookstore. Okay. All right. Select the bookstore, and we can then type use, okay, bookstore. Okay. So this just, and once we finish with this, we want to end the statement. All right. So you use that semicolon to end the statement. And now we're going to go ahead to enter values into the books table. Okay. So very simple. We start with insert into, okay, insert into books. All right. Then we specify the respective columns that we will be entering data for. Okay. Publish date, price, all right. And then we specify the respective values, all right, we're going to be entering. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first title. Okay, we will call that MySQL. Okay, workbench guide. All right, and that is going to be authored. All right. Okay. Now you can see that I'm putting it in these quotations or commas or inverted commas. Now this is because all these values we are entering, all right, the data type, they are sort of literals, or you can call them strings, right? We are entering some sort of character, so it's always good that you put it is the standard way to put it in these inverted commas. Okay, so if you put the author as Alice Johnson, right? Then we put in the dates as well. Okay. Then we proceed to put in the integer value. Okay. Put in the integer value. All right. Now, once we've done so, we can then close the statement. All right. So then this is our first set of values we're going to put in. All right. Oh, I mean, we have existing values in there. Notice also that we did not specify any book ID. All right. So once that is done, all right, so there's a number of buttons, or you can say icons here you need to be aware of. These two are what you can use to either run, okay, a specific selection, or you run the selected portion of the script or everything if there's no selection, all right, or you can execute the statement under the keyboard cursor. Okay, so I'm just going to click this one here, all right, and once I click that, all right, you can see at the bottom here that we have something that says that one row is affected, right? So which means another row has been added. Okay, so if we go and examine our table again, all right, so this is our books table, and we just select rows. Okay, just to see what's happened here, we can see that we've added in a new row, MySQL Workbench Guide, Alice Johnson, published at the date, and then this is the price. Okay, So this is how you would typically do it for to enter some data into there. Okay, right. Now we can also, of course, given if we have multiple entries that we need to add to this here, all we need to do is after this the brackets, all right, we just put a comma, go to the next line, all right, just for better clarity and readability, and put in our next set of data. All right, so I've gone ahead here to put in the values. All right, put in values. This new data here for Jurassic Park, authored by Dmitry Pashov, written in published date 1994 for 1999. Okay, so if we look at our table here again, you can see. Sorry, if we look here, or maybe let me just run this again. If we just look at our table, if we just do select rows here, right, we can see that we have two entries actually of the MySQL Workbench Guide. Obviously, because I run the code twice, which means it added in another line here, and then followed by the Jurassic Park. Okay, right.